This video will highlight some astronomy events that are occurring in 2021. I live in the Central Time Zone, so those are the times I'm using. If you're in Eastern Time Zone, you need to advance the time by 1 hour. If you're in Pacific Time Zone, subtract 2 hours. On February 18th, Mars will be visited by a NASA rover, hopefully landing on that date. And this rover is significant in weight, 2,260 pounds on the Earth. It has a helicopter that is mounted underneath, I believe, of the rover that's only 4 pounds. This helicopter is not going to be used that much for the science of this rover, but it will demonstrate that remote flight can be controlled from Earth and not controlled directly because of the time lag. The helicopter will be flying independently, but we'll see if it can fly in the thin atmosphere of Mars. Definitely not an easy task. March 14th, beginning of daylight savings time. So the times I have above this are standard time. The times below are daylight time. Then April 4th is Easter. Easter has an astronomy connection. Easter is celebrated for us on the first Sunday after the first full moon after March 21st. It's a little bit of a complicated formula, but this gives us an Easter date that's after the spring equinox, after the March equinox, spring for the Northern Hemisphere. The date for Easter does move around. Some people wonder why that's the case. It's because the date of the full moon after March 21st varies from year to year. Easter can be as late as April 25th, and that will occur again in 2038 if you're keeping an advanced calendar. April 26th, there's a full moon called a so-called supermoon. The moon's orbit around the Earth is not circular. There are times when the moon is a little closer to the Earth. There are times when it's a little farther away. The supermoon date, the moon is full in its phase, and it's somewhat near the close point in its orbit. This does not mean it's close to the Earth. There's just a little variation, but you may notice if you're careful, especially if you're doing photography, and catch the moon near the horizon, both on this full moon and about 6 months later, you would be able to tell the difference on your pictures of the apparent size of the moon on the sky compared to your horizon. Just use the same horizon setting for both photos. May 26th, there will be a lunar eclipse. It's not a good eclipse for the central United States. The partial phase of the eclipse, when the moon starts to enter the darkest portion of the Earth's shadow, begins at 4:45 a.m. If you live in Hawaii or other regions in the Pacific, you'll get a view of the whole eclipse. If you do live in Western California, you'll be able to see the total eclipse occur just as the moon is close to setting for the west coast of California. Those in Oregon will get a little poorer view of the moon. I don't think it's above the horizon when the total phase occurs for our friends in Oregon. July 5th, the Earth is now at its farthest point away from the Sun. The Earth's orbit is not a circular orbit, and in July, the Earth is at a more distant point compared to the average in its orbit. The temperature in July in the Northern Hemisphere, though, is warm, not due to our location or distance from the Sun, but because in July, the Northern Hemisphere is tilted towards the Sun. We get more direct sunlight. The Sun is above the horizon for a longer amount of time. That increases our temperature. At the same time, the Southern Hemisphere is kind of tilted away from the moon, away from the Sun, not directly receiving sunlight, and lower in the horizon, so less time above the horizon, and the Southern Hemisphere has its winter season. August 12th, the night of August 12th into the morning of August 13th, the Perseid meteor shower would be worth trying this year. The moon is at a phase here. It'll be crescent moon. That crescent moon will set before you should start looking for the meteors after midnight. So the moon will not interfere with viewing the meteors. This should be a good good time to view. We don't know how many there'll be, but at least the moon will not be interfering with our view of the fainter meteors. October 29th, Venus is in its orbit position viewed from the Earth to the left of the Sun. That means if the Sun is on the western horizon, Venus will be at a large angle to the left, east of the Sun on the sky, and will be a noticeable object in the evening. And for some time, a month before this, October 29th, you'll start noticing Venus as a bright object over in the west. November 7th, we end the daylight savings time, so we have to set our clocks back an hour. November 19th, another lunar eclipse. This one's not total for any observer. It's a partial lunar eclipse, but a little more convenient time. And I've just noticed here that I've got Central Daylight Time in this calendar, so should be Standard Time in my calendar. I'll fix that, and I'll show you how you can retrieve that fixed information in just a minute here. But any case, in the morning hours, November 19th, there'll be a partial lunar eclipse. You'll be able to see the moon go through the Earth's shadow, but not directly into the shadow. So the moon will not totally be dark on this partial lunar eclipse. 2024, there's a nice total solar eclipse that passes through these center and eastern United States. More on that next year when I make this calendar. I have recorded a couple hundred astronomy videos, about 340 physics videos on YouTube, and you can see those indexed at my websites. These are very rudimentary websites. I do not collect any personal information. You do not register. You do not give your email address. There are no cookies used by these sites. You do not make a donation. It's all free. And including the sky calendar. And I'll fix that daylight savings time. With the sky calendar, again, astronomy.gpclements.com, towards the top of the page, you'll see a link either for downloading the Word document or just viewing this calendar online. So I hope you're able to see some events this year, 2021.